Hey guys, welcome back to the S&C Roundtable. I am joined by Matt Watson. It has been quite a bit of time since we haven't had an episode, and I've been waiting to kickstart the podcast with Matt. And I think it's gonna be a fun episode. I've got my notepad in front of me, Can style. Shout out to Can. Just got all my crazy notes in front of me. But yeah, how have you been, sir?
Yeah, really well, really busy.
If people are watching
But yeah,
from their, if they're watching this on YouTube, they'll see you look like you're sitting on a huge toilet, but it's just where it's not
just
a toilet.
just a it's a cabinet on top of a cabinet. We're in makeshift mode today. We've got a fucking window that has taped on like blackout blinds for my 1-year-old daughter. But yeah, we're living with family, trying to make it happen. But yeah, we're
I just
rocking and
saw that.
rolling.
Looks like you've got the the masking tape around it.
Masking tape.
My man.
I've just gone full bodge. Yeah, it's just temporary, but you make it work. And she's fucking sleeping, dude. She woke up at like 9 o'clock today. So
And you were just
yeah.
training. You were doing some trap bar jumps. I have photo proof of that.
You
You
mean
reckon?
you don't have photo proof of me doing it? You have photo proof of a trap bar on the floor.
Conveniently
Um,
loaded in a spot that you train. The new Matt
they
Watson warm up. I think
I think just just 10 trap bar jumps at 40 kg. And you're
that's
fucking
all you
ready.
need.
That's all
That's
you
all.
need.
Would you use a velocity? Would you hook that one up to the iPad? Surely.
I'd fucking sit an iPad below it and just drop it onto the iPad. That's about as far as it goes with the trap bar. Yeah. No, I it's weird, isn't it, with a trap bar? Like you actually look at a trap bar and then you just look at just holding a set of dumbbells and you're like, well, what's changed? Do you need to spend like X amount of money on a trap bar? And
Oh, we've got one, and the welding on it is so fucked up. It looks like a kid's done it. It's
yeah,
really really bad. Yeah,
we're
it's
bodged.
pretty shit piece of equipment.
Mm, yeah,
Thanks.
I mean, some of them are quite cool. The ones that don't have like the backs on them and shit, where you can do a little bit
the,
more.
the U
You can do
bar.
like, yeah, the U bar where you can do like more split stuff. You said that earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
said
don't
you
I
could
don't
do
know
like
why. The way you said just the way you said it made me laugh.
the,
They don't have
oh,
the back.
the
They don't
back
have the
off
backs
it.
on them. I don't know. I don't know why I'm laughing
Well,
at
they
that.
don't, right? That's just a
Fucking I don't know. Yeah, it's
yeah,
they're a bit more versatile.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you could just use a bar.
I uh
That's
I have a newfound respect for people like
yeah.
yourself and David who do a bit of presenting. Had this after we spoke
Yeah,
last. I had the seminar in Sydney. That was awesome, and yeah, it was good. It was good because it was good to present that content, but it was also really it was hard not to rush, and then hard also to not feel like you don't want to bore people and you don't want them to feel disengaged. So
mm,
I just felt like, and then it's more so, I think the skill of presenting is in being able to speed up and slow down the room. I feel like
yeah, yeah.
that's a skill in of itself. I know. What do you think about that?
First of all, congratulations. Because it's, I mean, as you're going into now, like it's not easy. People that don't have an education or um it's not it's educational. It's not even like a lecturing point of view because you were running theory, you were running practical based elements, um whether they were like working together on coaching themselves, like coaching each other through things. Like there's a lot of moving parts um to a seminar or to an educational workshop. And I think I take for granted working as a teacher for 7 years. I mean, like I've taught in like over 16. I've taught in university, and I've taught 11-year-olds to 16 sort of thing in 3 different settings. So it's like, I take for granted how much you just inherently know, and how to just do simple things like check people's learning, differentiating from one individual to the next in like the blink of an eye sort of thing, and being able to be like, oh, I understand straight away your level of competency, and I can. And obviously that does come with coaching, but when you got 30 people in a room or 25 people in a room or even 10 people in a room, it's a lot different to coaching. And it's especially different to coaching like in a team setting. I know you're obviously delivering the same thing to everyone, but it's different. It's different when you're delivering theory as well as the practical elements. Pretty simple in comparison to delivering like a double-sided element to it for theory and practical. So like I take my hat off to you. How did you feel the day after? Like I'm fucking wiped out.
I
I
think
don't know what it is.
No, I think I was pretty good. I think I was just more so thinking about like, oh, I should have done this. I think that's what I was thinking about more so. Like
Yeah.
I was just thinking there were things maybe I'd change for the next one, but
Yeah.
no, I was
Yeah,
pretty.
that's a nice reflection to have though, right? Is to to kind of be like, where did people just, when they just look at you a little bit blank, or they just they ask you the same kind of questions to the same elements like 4 times, and you're like, that still wasn't where I wanted it to be or how I wanted to deliver it to them.
It was
So again, it
interesting
goes,
because there was like a big spectrum with, especially when we started talking about like the technical model, and there were some people who were very comfortable with like hearing about, okay, there are different archetypes and there are
yeah,
different ways we'll produce force, and these are some of the rationales, or at least the things that I think might be influencing that, and potentially that's something that I think I'd probably want to put in more so in my own words, or just develop that in the future. But that's something else entirely. But then there are other people who just never thought about it in that light.
yeah, yeah.
And
Well, and
that
I think as well that the like the whole thing of like, oh, this is the technique that I think that you should coach is really difficult when you're trying to deliver it, in a succinct, quick period of time for starters. And that's why using like principles or biomechanical models for everyone to understand that when you go to a technical part of it, they understand that, oh, the reason why we pull off the floor in this motion, or the reason why we're trying to set you up into this position when you catch a bar, whatever it might be, is and it goes back to the principles and those biomechanical models. And I think that just yeah, you've got to kind of you've got to have a little bit of foreplay before you get
it's
into
hard
the
though. It's hard though, because at the same time, if you give them all that background information, they don't know what to do with it. People need time to process all that. Like it's kind of hard because it's hard because that's exactly how I did it, or I tried to deliver it in that way. It was like, this is one of the videos didn't fucking work. The videos didn't work for some reason. Got to the day before, and the TV's small and the iPad's doesn't play videos to the TV. Anyway, that was it was what it was. But when you're trying to show like this is gait, and then this is gait in another context. I had like, my plan was to show a slump hop, and I was like, you can clearly see heel, mid stance, max propulsion, late. Like you can clearly see the cycle of the leg in this movement. You can see gait. Now, can you see weightlifting? Look at the feet, look at the shins, look at how we move. It's very similar. We're all humans. We're all producing force in the same way. But to get someone to like, oh yeah, I'm following along, it's pretty tough on the learner. I think it's hard. I think if anything, if you leave and you're like, that was really interesting, I really want to learn more about that, I think that's it. That was like maybe my perspective. And I was like, fuck it. Yeah. If you don't learn it, that's fine. At least potentially you can learn more from me at this link.
Well, I think you need to look at it in that, like, a victory is like, if you can come away with three pieces of information that they can implement, and three is probably quite a high number of like snippets that they can take. Honestly, like 1 or 2, maybe 3 parts that they could be like, this is now going to be a part of how I look at movement, or how I put something into my program. And I think it goes back to checking people's learning. It goes back to having like little tools. It goes, you can give everyone little post-it notes, and you can be like, right, before we move on to this next component, whether it's in a practical part, like, I want you to nail all of your post-it notes all on top of each other onto this like plate.
That's the teacher in you.
That's exactly, but it's a confirmation.
But that's something that I don't have that, like.
No, exactly. So
I don't have that, but I'm excited to I'm excited to develop that.
Yeah, you start to realize that it's education and it's pedagogical, like, communication. It's when I feed you information, and there's it's funny actually. There's been a real push for, and it still is like that, for real, like, self discovery in learning and education, and it's really pushed by, like, how you get assessed in teaching in classes. You're like, oh, the students have to be, it has to be student led, and it's kind of like athlete led coaching, right?
Mm.
They are to find, you
The
have to put them
360
in
no
this,
scopes.
yeah, you have to put them in a situation, and they're to figure it out. And I went to a conference, an educational conference, God, it's probably like 2017, and the first thing he said is like, a lot of this is absolute bullshit until you've given someone, like, the idea as to what's about to happen or what principles they need to learn. Like, you have to give people the information. You can't just assume that they're just going to figure it out. I mean, ultimately, it's kind of like, I'll always feed back to the individual that I'm working with and say, this is how these movements can be placed within a program. And, you can, I guess that's the thing with, if it's specifically just weightlifting, but when you've got like a whole vertically integrated system, or not, or whatever, it's kind of like, you program how the fuck you want, but you have all these compounding elements that are going to come together at certain stages, and you have to find your way through these learning stages. And it doesn't matter how you get there, whether you want to fucking block periodize, whether you want to integrate it all at the same time, whether you want to, short to long, long to short, whatever it might be in terms of volume and intensity. I think that you just have to base it on your principles of learning and teaching. And ultimately, like, I think that a lot of what you teach is priming someone to use the gait cycle as efficiently as possible, and that kind of everything else really can just develop effectively around that, and it's just about exposure over time, right? And just playing with certain things and tweaking things up and down. And I think you've also got to give them onus on, okay, you need to go away, understand that when you're in a certain scenario where you're banging your head against the wall with some strength work, and you're starting to plateau, well, you're going to need a change up of that environment. You're going to need a different stimulus. You can bring in more speed elements here, drop down the intensity. So it's like, it's teaching people what comes in at what stage, and understanding where I need to make changes at certain parts within a program. But ultimately, it doesn't necessarily matter what programs or what form of programming they'll use. And I think that's how I like to try to go about it. I'm like, you can put these all in a warm up, or you can put these all in here, because it will facilitate this at a later stage. So that's just me
I think
rambling
that's
about.
where people get no, not hung up, but I think it's a phase that a lot of people go through where it's like, well, because everything kind of works, and sometimes it's like that nihilistic, nothing matters, but it does.
Yeah, but it all does. Yeah, yeah,
It's interesting. It's good.
Mm.
It's pretty exciting though. No,
It's really exciting, man. Like, I'm on the, like, I'm now pushing to create like a 2-day seminar. And that's really, yeah, that's really forcing me to kind of, because I've been so set with this one day, and I think the one day has gradually got better and better. Um, yeah, I'm kind of like, what do I want to add? What do I think brings a lot of value? And what am I missing from
how
the
would you do
1 day
two
one that I do at the
days? How
moment?
would you structure your 2-day one?
I think assessing movement would be a really big one. So, like, we go through a practical, but really I just expose people to what and how plyometrics should feel. I don't really go into much. Like, I'm talking like 10 minutes at the beginning of, like, these are the positions we want to see. But, like, why? Why do you want to see these positions? Like, how does it influence other factors of movement? And I'd like that to be like a whole, like, theory stroke practical, kind of like, yeah, kind of like a merged one, where people can be like taking notes, they can be trying things, they can be looking at video footage of stuff, and trying to just conceptualize things a little better. So I'd like to add that in. Yeah, I think I would probably separate some of the practical elements. Like, I'd potentially look at more like more stiff and overcoming based stuff, or yeah, more stiff and overcoming, and then looking at more yielding stuff and having like a whole practical on yielding, and why it's so valuable and what you can get out of it. But ultimately, it's kind of like I give a little bit of science on just general physiological principles with plyos, what's happening, um, the plus pliers system, and then how you would feed that into. So I basically show people like how movements get more intense depending on the movement pattern that you're doing, and then we go into the practical to get those sensations out of. So that's a prompt that I use. I'm like, okay, if you don't understand that a split exchange leap is more intense than a leap, but it's not as intense as a bound, well, you're about to find out. So I prompt that into the practical then as the follow up to that. I would like to also add it to like a rehab, because I've done some like online lectures and seminars for mentorships. I went on Andy Chen's one, and presented to those guys and did a whole thing on rehab and how to bridge back from, and that's all based around the
And you've got the return
loading.
to play program as well.
Yeah, I got the return to play stuff. So yeah, that's that yeah, it's all built into that. So I'd like to add maybe not a rehab thing, but like a return to sport sort of vibe, and why, like ways in which you can it's kind of exactly the same as starting someone off new, but it's like breaking down inhibition because of the trauma that's onset with injury. It's gradually, expressing more force into someone and expressing more velocities. It's getting into deeper ranges of motion, being comfortable in those deeper ranges, and yeah, and so on. So, and I think honestly, breaking that up, that probably give me a second day already. Like adding the rehab stuff in there, breaking the practicals up, adding the movement assessment stuff. So yeah, it's all there. It's just I want to feel comfortable and piecing it together. I'm doing a 2-day. I'm delivering to an organization in December. Yeah, with the Major League Baseball team. So theirs is obviously a bit specific to what they want, but I'm going to take a lot from what I'm going to deliver there because they want to see assessment of movement. They really want to see how you can kind of develop someone over like a period of years as well. So that's going to be, yeah, it's going to be really interesting, and to see what I can take from that, how that's going to build my intensive course as well that we're going to launch in Q1 or Q2 next year, depending on whether I've got the capacity to do that.
Whether
So
you've got the capacity. Oh, come on.
just to put it together. I mean,
Yeah. It is
right,
about time, isn't it?
to put together a 12-weeker, it's tough, man.
You should just build it as you go. Should just do one of those. A startup company.
I fucking
Just
can't, man. I
no,
can't.
it's fucked.
I'll
They'll
have
be
a
you. Yeah.
I'll have a fucking heart attack. I don't like. I'm pretty good like pressure wise, but like if it's something that's gonna be like if it's, do you know what I mean? If I had to deliver like a 1-day seminar and I had no
Yes.
preparation, I could go and just deliver something, right? But when it's something that is it like progressing over a period of weeks, and I'm thinking, fuck, I missed that, and I missed doing that, and I'm like, obviously the first time you do something, you're obviously going to miss components and stuff. That's fine. But like, if I've spent a few weeks mulling over it, I go back over those weeks. Yeah, I'm far more comfortable with that. I might just give myself, because I'm going to do a 12-weeker, and I might just give myself 12 weeks to make it, and then try to, do you know what I mean? Like, see what it would be to spend like, okay, I'm going to spend a week on this week. I'm going to spend a week on this week, and just see what that looks like. It'd probably be quicker than that, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah, tell me what's going to come of new seminars. Is it going to be, you're going to just try and nail what you've got, or do you know what I mean, like just hone what you're currently working with? Because that's what I did. I think we did like 7 in the last year,
Yeah,
and
let's do like 5 and then we'll
yeah,
reassess. I think so.
yeah,
I think so. Let's do all the states and
yeah,
then we'll
yeah,
yeah, we'll decide from there. I don't think there's no point changing it. It's a good formula. People get a
yeah,
little bit of everything. They get a taster. And
yeah. I
honestly,
like it.
really, like if you are pretty good with these things, you're immediately a better coach.
100%,
I
100%.
feel like I don't really have space for fluff, and the way I speak and present, I don't really have time for filler or
Mm,
anything. I just fucking do it. Just get straight to the point. This is why we're
yeah,
here. I
yeah,
don't know. I feel like just my personality, maybe.
yeah. No, no, I respect that hugely. Yeah, there's definitely going to be seminars out there that you just think that bit in the middle. What the fuck was that about? You know,
Mate, I've been doing a lot of heavy 10 meters. Too heavy, I think.
I saw, and I made a comment, and I actually reflected back on it later, and I was like, did I need to give you that comment? It was quite like just,
Did Brandon
I,
know? Did Brandon know that that was too heavy? Yes. And that's fine.
but like that's wholeheartedly what you need to do is you need to like push the threshold either side, right?
I love taking things to the extreme, especially like, yeah, the plyos, getting
Yeah,
a sore knee from the 1-2 takeoffs, and too many ping tier, too many
yeah,
hops.
yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's probably.
When you throw that leg into the ground and you're going bum bum, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, there's my knee.
Yeah, I think I said to you a few months ago, I was like, should I feel like I'm jumping on bone. Yeah, nah, that's probably the threshold. That's probably it. Um, but yeah,
There's
this
sorry, go on. No,
no, I
you're
was
good.
gonna say, go. Tell me what you're gonna say.
No, I was just gonna
Being a
say,
fucking idiot, to be honest. I was just gonna talk about sprinting.
yeah, I was gonna say someone like yourself anyway, with like takeoffs or sprinting. Um, I think you should live in like high volume, like just below max, like kind of like sub max, not sub max, but yeah, like 85 to 90%. You should live there and just hammer it for a year and
I
just
think
work
so.
on quality of movement. And then like two years into it or something like that, then you can really start to push the threshold. Because like I remember when you talked to me about the like, should I be feeling as if like my bones are literally touching each other in my joints, and I'm like, yeah, you need to I always talk about, you need to build like the basket of tendons and ligaments and stuff around a joint that needs to be so like just comfortable in just that repetition. So
It's
that's
fucked
why like
because there's so much force there, but there's also
there's so much force, but your bones are still moving at real high velocity, so like your bone won't stop. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
so bad. It's
it's such a
so bad.
strange concept, isn't it? You're like, holy shit, I'm carrying speed here, and there
That
ain't no
tibia is gonna
stopping me.
displace.
It's gonna fucking shift, and if you don't, do you know what I mean? Like you either blow something up. I guess that's the whole principle of all fucking movement when it comes to overcoming something, right? Like you're either gonna overcome it so much that it's just gonna hurt you the next day, or you don't overcome it and it's just gonna go bang.
I'm excited. Yeah, that's it. Exceed tissue tolerance. The
Yeah.
I'm excited to build some elastic volumes at the moment. I'm excited to just hammer that. To be honest, I think I ticked off a few goals this year already with training. So I think now I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go into a very I'm gonna hibernate into a health phase where I just
Mm.
accumulate some more.
Honestly, you will
It's
feel
gonna be great.
fucking amazing doing
It
it.
kind of just
I
happens as much as people talk about like, gee, there are a lot of elements of periodization in the stuff that I do. Just funny,
Yeah.
isn't it? I'm
Yeah.
just going into the general. I'm just going to go back into the general phase.
Yeah.
My program is 100% periodized. That's it.
Mine is not. Mine is fucking just training when I
Oh, but you've already, yeah, but you've done that. You've done the prepare to move. You've
mm,
been on the Eric Little for years.
I've done yeah. I've been there, done that. And got the fucking t-shirt. I was gonna say to you about JT, the my athlete
Yes,
Jake.
yes.
We did, so he's done 9 weeks of like really high volume we gradually built up some real high volumes of extensive stuff, and he is moving so well. If I was to show you footage of him a year ago when we started together, it's just like
It'd be good
it
to share that because people will see
yeah,
this the hopping, the running. What is it? It's like the speed hopping.
the running speed hops. Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's, by the way, that like I have drip fed
I was gonna say it would be
plus pliers stuff.
barely any
Like
of that volume wise.
yeah, but like no, I was just saying in general, like I have drip fed what's to come, like dynamically. Like the industry is not ready. Like just general people aren't ready for things like hopping and bounding at speed. at speed. Like
It
Jake
just
is
looks like
fucking
it just
moving,
looks
but
like
he's
toe bashing if you do it fast.
yeah, yeah. And well, it's like running on one leg, like just one leg. Obviously, you're always running on one leg, but like just using your left or right leg, and that will soon come into plus pliers eventually. But
Well, I feel
it's
like everything, you've got a cohort now of people who have been working on it. Even like a lot of
mm,
my athletes have like fast leap, high leap at the moment, and they're like,
mm,
"Oh, what the fuck?
yeah,
I can't do it." Or
yeah,
and even myself, it's like trying to make a ping tier leap is probably the ceiling for a lot of people.
yeah, a hell of a lot of people. But I feel like it could also be a lot more. They just need to spend more time with me.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Everyone's still developing.
yeah, yeah.
It's an interesting place to
But
be.
going back to the extensive stuff, it's like once you've got like a general base of like decent movement, it's fucking fantastic just to do a shit ton of extensive stuff, and you just look at how much it clears up. You just when you're working submaximally, you sit in such more of a comfortable position to stack the body well. um you're not overly stressed in terms of the overload principle, so like you're not losing like hip positions and stuff. Sorry, joint positions, talk fucking English. And much taller. It's much you can use a lot more reactive qualities. And like I always talk about it in terms of like, for you to tap into your reflexes, you've got to spend so much time at submaximal intensities, because as soon as you go to maximum stuff, you just live in this overcoming notion where I have to fight as much as I possibly can. And like the phrase intent comes in and it just spoils everything. Whereas like you you have to break down those walls of inhibition to like get to that like that gold of a reflex, and that just that popping feeling that you
And
get
that's
out
not
of
going
it.
to happen straight away. That's
No,
something that
it takes a long time.
yeah, it's funny because we had at the seminar we had Jack do some plyos, and then it looked so like
Yeah.
he kept saying it in his words, it was like sexy,
Yeah.
but it's like submaximal. It's very easy. He's
Yeah.
some of the other ones later towards the end of the session definitely weren't submaximal, but
Mm.
you see a lot of people look at him and like, okay, I have to jump high, or okay, my foot needs to be as stiff as that, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, one, that stiffness is like an emerging quality of like skill doing it all the time, and then it's a reflex. It's
Yeah.
literally like you're turning your body into a spring, and that's not going to happen
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
just you like lifting weights all the time.
Yeah. And it's so like fascinating to think about. You actually think about it like physiologically. Imagine like you've had this system that is like contracting so heavily from a muscular standpoint, and the tendon may not be shifting as much as you would see in someone that's far more reflexive, to then change it to a standpoint where that tendon is actually going, I'm just going to hold in this position isometrically, and I'm going to let the bone pull on the tendon. So like from either, so that's what's giving you the reflex of quality. So to like, it's not like a changing of a mechanism, but it kind of is. Otherwise, you would have this like long feeling to be like, oh, I need to get this stretch on my muscle to then like snap it
Yes,
back into
it's all
position.
very muscular driven.
Yeah, but it's and then you're trying to reverse that, and to be like, do you know what? Actually, when you hit the ground, the like the most basic example is a fucking calf and an Achilles. So that calf is going to stay tight up behind your knee almost, and that Achilles is going to get that tug, and it's just going to propel you into the ground, propel you off the ground. And it's kind of fascinating to think about physiologically, and how long that would take to try and do that. Just because of the skill parameters of it, but like, how many fucking years have you done that? You had that strategy, and now you're just going to assume that in 12 weeks you're gonna jump higher, man. Like, it's just, yeah, it's quite funny.
It's tough. It's tough because it's also, but then the other side of the coin is like, then the other side of it is people just feel better when they do something a little bit different to what they normally do.
Of course,
Like
yeah,
they just
yeah,
feel that it's just like, oh, this is a new stimulus, and then they just feel like they even feel more springy, even though they don't even have to be doing it correctly, and it's still valuable.
Mm. I think as well though, right? Like we all have within our niches, we all have like if you were to there must be baselines in Olympic lifting in the same
Yes.
way that there's baselines in like vertical jumping. Someone's like, oh, I just want
But
to
it's
have like a
still a pretty
foot.
big bandwidth because you can get away with being such a like Chris and I were laughing. We have an athlete, or we had an athlete that like would do a clean 170, 160, and then do a broad jump and just fucking die. Like literally can't even do a broad jump and fall over. And then he was telling me he had one of his athletes. I think his Instagram's Wobby Lifts or something like that, or Wooby Lifts or something like that. So you can just
Yeah.
imagine. And I think I've seen this guy clean and jerk 180, and then Chris was like, in the warm up, the dude fucking like imploded, like fell over on a broad jump or like on a deep leap and just fell over. And Chris is like, fucking hell, this is just chaos. And then you just see the dude clean and jerk 180, and you're just like,
Mm.
what's going on? What's
But
going
like
on?
it's quite funny though because you like if you like I was just thinking that I get a lot of people that are like obsessed with like a 40-inch vertical, and obviously it would be great to have a 40-inch vertical, but I'm like 40-inch, 35-inch, whatever you want to call it, and it's like it's great, but it's not as impressive as we assume it is. And like the what comes with actually, I'm just going to train to be far past those capabilities, and actually, you can just pop into the air at any point. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't have to peak in this perfect program. And I think there's so much that's built towards that. And I'm sure it's the same in weightlifting. There's like a magic barrier of like it's like a 150 clean and jerk or something like that, where it's like, and you're like, it's great and all, but like you'll constantly think to like, what does 200 kg look like? Like there must be a barrier. Like for me, it's I don't know if there's a number to it, but it's just watching people move in a certain way where I'm like, 40-inch vertical does not compare to someone like I've seen high jumpers move
Is
and
that the
take off in
purist
a
in
certain
you?
way.
And then seeing like the
It might
marketing
be,
being like, jump
yeah,
higher, add inches. I feel
yeah,
like I'm seeing a lot
yeah,
of the like
yeah.
add how many inches to your vertical. I feel like that's just that is the 6 week challenge of the
Mm.
basketball industry.
Well, yeah, it is. It very much is. And I had to think about this the other day. I
So
was like,
cringy, all the basketball shit. It's cringy as
unfortunately, it is, mate.
fuck.
But yeah, it's a real like you're a 15-year-old kid and you're like, I just got to dunk, and
But
it's
then
like
and
this
then watching
real
them do it is like so cringy. The training they're
painful.
doing, jumping on a
Yeah,
box, like
it's
yeah,
painful.
I show so and so how he got a 50-inch vert, and this
Yeah,
is this is the training he did. I'm like,
yeah. And
I
you're
think I
like, you've never
reported the
trained
ad.
him. You've never trained him, and his parents were unbelievable athletes, and he he's always been able to bounce out the fucking gym. But like I had a thought the other day. I was like, I reckon for the next 10 years, I could just stand on a count, like I stand on a jump mat, and I reckon I could jump into the 70s, like 70 centimeters, like on like a proper tested jump mat without doing any training. And that's because of like a longevity base of work. I was thinking the other day, I was thinking I might test myself to try and get a PR in my back squat, and then not touch back squats for 6 months and just do deep tier plyos and then retest. Like I want to see what these long-term effects of plyos can do, rather than just being like, here's this little program, be amazing at the end of it, and then just never fucking do it again. But like,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling about so much shit, but it's yeah, it's just I don't find a lot of what's said in the industry like, get this, this arbitrary number in like lifting or jumping. And I'm like, that doesn't even, that fucking 3 meter broad jump post that I posted the other day. Did you
Oh
see?
yeah, all
I was
my
like,
athletes,
that's
every single member in my gym hit 3 meters or 3.1 the other day. It was like
right.
four athletes, and one
People
of
lost their
them's
mind on it.
yeah. They were like, God damn, look at this guy. Should be in the NFL. It's like, no, you need 3.6, you need
Yeah.
3.5.
Yeah. Well, people look like, oh my, the amount of people that were like, okay, let's see you do it then. I'm like, I'm a coach. I don't need to prove to you. What's that side? That's a real American thing as well. It's like I can't hire a coach unless they can do something. And you're like, You reckon Dan Pfaff gave a fuck about how fast he ran 100 meters? But he happened to coach the Olympic 100-meter champion. You're like, who gives a fuck about what the coach can do? What's that like?
Yeah.
Genuinely, like, we're at a stage where we can still use our abilities to do you know what I mean? Like, to show off a little bit, to show some good footage of stuff on social media. But in the next 10 years, I don't give a shit. Like, when I'm 40 odd, like, I don't care if I'm still, I'd like to just be happy that I'm still doing it, but it's not going to be my product. My product is my athletes. So it's like, I don't know what that is, but
I feel
yeah,
like
3 minute
it
broad
just
jump
comes
shit.
to like transcending the industry. You transcend all of the rubbish. I
Fingers
think that's what it
crossed.
is. I think that's what it is.
Fing-
Yeah. I don't
Fingers
know.
crossed.
It's
I'm I'm
just
do you know
ragging
what?
on everyone.
Do you know what I'm thinking about? I think about dropping a program next year. Just calling it like a dynamic program, and just using some of the stuff that I use for like my triple jumpers and high jumpers and long jumpers, making it a little bit more generic towards other sports,
Mm.
but just building like the athletic beast kind of program, and just using nothing but locomotive pliers, running, and jump stuff. And I reckon it would be pretty decent, because obviously plus pliers is so like, it's just pliers. We are
So
adding a little.
you don't want to have those kind of programs in the app or no?
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe creating like a bit of a step up from
Like an
that,
S&C component to it?
kind of, but like, I don't know whether I would even bother with including weights and just showing people, like, at the moment,
It'd just
like
be a track
JT.
session, wouldn't it?
Yeah, JT runs 1 by 20, and and yeah, he's been doing that for the last 11 weeks now, and he's getting fucking stronger doing it. Like, we're just doing that. He's keeping him injury free, and he's jumping out the fucking building. Yeah. So
I mean, if they get bored, then you change it. If not, keep running it. That's
yeah,
it.
exactly.
It's
Exactly.
interesting with the strength side of things, or the just getting them more powerful, really. The
Mm, mm,
Mark, the sprinter at the moment, he's it's really interesting kind of learning more about sprinting and then seeing the things that he struggles with and then being like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like he kind of just wins the or runs the race pretty fast and he's upright running towards the end, but then like that whole first part, like the acceleration side of things, then okay, how do you produce force in a squat? He in a front squat, he'll accelerate really slowly out of the bottom. So again, that power we need at the bottom,
yeah.
training a lengthened glute, and then just like that last quarter squat, just like pop it off his
Oof.
shoulders, and I'm like, fucking dude, stop.
It's where track athletes are really comfortable with producing power, apart from throwers. But it's
Such
really comfortable where, they were really comfortable in those zones. So
elite
it's
quarter
that.
squat, elite quarter squat gang. They'll put Cant to
That's it.
shame.
That's it. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. He's fucking. He spent
Is
like
he?
three
Is
three
that bad?
70.
Is
Huh?
that dangerous? Is that dangerous, Matt?
What, quarter squatting at fucking 370?
Well, like I think about my friend Zach. Zach squatted 330,
Mm.
and like how it feels on your back, and then this dude's just loading up 380.
Dude, whenever
Like
I
Zoe,
whenever I
my
used
client
to,
fractured her back on 170 jerk dips. Like,
yeah, yeah. When I so when I was a jumper, I think I used to I quarter squatted, just, just part of the track community. You quarter squatted maybe 240 odd, and I weighed 70 kg, and it would get to like 220, and I would start to feel my hips. I couldn't control like lateral shift in it. Like, I would unrack the bar, and there's like just a threshold where I was like,
Eric will be like,
this.
put the belt on, Matt. Yeah, put anything over 220 with the belt on. No,
Well,
no.
Eric didn't like it. That was, I mean, he said that he came up in a generation where he would do 200 kg step ups, and he stepped back off of a box once
Much,
and rolled his
much,
ankle with 200 kg on his back. And
much of a muchness, if I'm honest.
yeah, yeah, it was an era where it was like lift, 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 lift. It was, yeah, you're in the gym 4 times, 5 times a week, and then trying to do 6 track sessions.
What era are we in now?
I am out of touch with it in terms of the track community, but we're not in. It's honestly, it doesn't change. It doesn't change much. It's too high a volume of high intensity stuff. Always the way. Always the way. Yeah. Greg Rutherford, the Olympic long jump champion, trained with Dan Pfaff.
24-meter behind the head throw. Is that wild?
That's fucking wild.
That's fuck.
That's
Mine's like 20.
wild. It's wild.
It's
It's
4 meters further than me, and he's like a
dude,
yeah,
yeah,
he's a
he
beast.
weighs 82, 83 kg when he was in his prime. But you're talking to someone that can run. I mean, I think he ran like 100-meter race in his life, and he ran like 10-2. So like this guy, and he's a really strange shaped guy. He's quite wide in his hips. He's not like super narrow.
I have to look
ISA.
at him again because I did watch a fair few of his videos
You know,
recently.
you get like it's like quite like squared torsoed. He's not like he doesn't look like he tapers
Looks like a
from his shoulders
rectangle,
to his waist. Yeah, he's more like that.
not your typical narrow pelvis.
No, not at all. And he went from training 6 times a week, just injury riddled.
I think
He would
Dan
do
said he tore like 6 hamstring injuries, like almost every race he was, or almost every event. I don't know if it was when he was
every
a sprinter, he was tearing a hamstring or getting a
no
hamstring injury
when he was jumping.
when he was jumping.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
like 2010, 2008 to 2011. Yeah, he was tearing his hamstrings all the time. And they went from 6 days a week training to 3. Like, you're just doing too much. Your body can't handle it. So we just get really high quality work in, and that's it. That's all you need. You know,
Yeah.
build it up.
A lot of people are, I don't know, same with Zoe. Zoe's the same with her training, was like however many sessions got. I don't even want to know how many she was doing, more than 6. And then it was like 4 and 3 of them weightlifting, and the 4th is just a strength day. And there's a lot of plyos and other shit in there, and they just can recover.
Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, that's a big thing in the track community. It's too much volume. Too much. Yeah. I mean, like I was coaching guys 3 times a week. They did 2 weight sessions a week. Other than that, it was
so then with JT, how much value, or if with your other track athletes, how much value do you place on, or even with your own track, like when you were high jumping? I guess with a long jumper, it's maybe different again. Do you value the max velocity work in the program, like max velocity sprinting? I know the approach is a little bit different. The stride looks a little bit different, but just the general quality of max velocity.
Yeah, with horizontal jumpers, 100%. The same with high jumpers. They'll get 1 stimulus a week of max velocity stuff. What you've also got to think about is when someone's long jumping or triple jumping, they're doing a lot of high max velocity stuff. Not max velocity, but they're doing a high percentage on the runway. So they're doing a lot of upright running. But ultimately it's there's obviously the huge speed component to the horizontal jumps. And in the high jump is always the case of, Newton and Galileo tell us that to jump high, you got to run faster. So yeah, it's one of those. You're still world-class high jumping, 240 high jumping. No one's ran less than 8 meters per second in the high jump to jump 240. Like they've never seen anything below that. So if you want to jump high, you got to run relatively quick, and you can't feel like you're stressed at 8 meters per second. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to be in control. It's got to feel controlled. So high jumpers still need to run fast. So you see some horse shit. You see high jumpers doing like 200 fucking reps and shit like that. Like 6 by 200 is like
conditioning
of high speed running.
Speed endurance.
Commas. Speed endurance.
We love that.
It's just it's a speed session. They're like, what kind of speed? This is fucking 8 forms of speed. It's like, oh yeah, my jumpers just feel better when they do. And they're like, yeah, great, they feel better, but they don't jump any higher. So it's like, so yeah, there's still that element. So I'll pair acceleration days, long ground contact days together with takeoffs, and short ground contact days, like upright running stuff with, it might be like faster plyos, could be more long jumping based stuff, even if you are a high jumper, like faster, high-end takeoffs. The same with throws, long ground contacts. So you'll pair in some maybe med ball throws there as well. And just that's kind of how I pair it. And I won't do too much running with jumpers, maybe 2 sessions a week. So yeah, there's a little insight into my world of track.
It's an interesting place.
It's like the sport of S&C. That's what I love about it, right?
It's the sport of S&C. That's
do you know what, do you know what I mean? It's like, how can you be really good with your body physically? There is like very little skill, but the skill is in the physical capacity, which I quite like. I mean, it's the same with weightlifting.
Finally, what do you foresee as like we can build on these in the new year, but as a fad, or what do you see as what's staying, what's coming for 2024? What do you foresee as being like? I feel like this year people were messaging you, Matt, and being like, "Have you heard of deep plyos?" They were messaging you, so that was weird. What do you foresee as the whether it's new or whether it's what's here to stay?
I saw something the other day and I can't remember what it was, but I was like, I've had enough of seeing this because I don't believe it.
Heavy 10 meters.
Heavy 10 meters. No, I think that I'm hopeful to see less of,
because GPP clearly looks like it's here to stay. People are
GPP is definitely sexy right now. AB is doing a big job on that.
So what's here to stay 2024?
What's here to stay?
We'll do what's here to stay and what's coming soon. So GPP is here to stay. I think that's staying.
GPP is definitely here to stay.
If people can learn how to do SPP properly, that would be great, but that's probably a bit too much to ask. So
there's a little too much there to ask. I think that you've got me on this, Brandon.
Sorry. I think we'll have to ponder this for the next Matthew and Brandon catch up.
What else you got? What else you got? Just spit with me for a second.
Just a few things that I think it seems like speed training in my niche. People seem to like for general population. I feel like the toolbox of the personal trainer is expanding, just due to the influence of other people that they have access to on Instagram. And it seems like people are getting their information primarily from Instagram. They're getting their education and inspiration primarily from that. So I feel like.
Do you know what I feel? And it might hurt a few people, but I see I don't know whether it's my feed. My feed is full of fucking hip hinges from David Gray at the moment, and I'm getting a little tired of
it. Yeah, the staggered stance hinge.
Staggered stance hinge. And I love it and I use it. But now I want to see where that goes and how
you want to see someone load it up. Well, here's the thing. People can't do it, Matt. People actually can't fucking do it. They can't do it properly. And that's probably why it's not going anywhere, because people can't do it. The coach can't. Well, here's the first thing. The coach can't coach it because every time they're doing it, it looks wrong majority of the time. And then
but that's the point.
And the athlete can't do it either.
That's the point. We should stop seeing it so much because the movement there should be redundancy in it. We should all get to a point. We should all get to a point where we see less of it, because not necessarily no longer need it, but we have this progressional development of it into something else. And I'm not saying it's just a loaded version of it, but I'm saying like where do we now see that progression, and what feeds it so that you can go back to it and do it? Like I know like it sounds weird and cocky or whatever, but like the group of guys that I trained with and that kind of became my athletes as well, there are so many components of movement that they could just step back to on a baseline level and just fucking nail all the time. And I'm like, what's happening higher up the chain that feeds like the most basic forms of movement? We can't even get people to do the basic stuff. But isn't there? Can't we bypass? A lot of people.
Well, that's the thing, because people are talking about the lens of gait as movement, and then but not using locomotive exercises to make changes to their gait. So they're using movements like a hinge or a split squat to make changes in the gait, in someone's gait, where it makes them feel a bit better, and it makes them whatever it might do the thing. But the person who's demonstrating a lot of those movements is a lot of those kind of coaches. They all move like powerlifters because they're not actually doing dynamic movements.
So that's where we need to feed the industry.
Yes. Right there. So clearly, like for example, and it's kind of sad, but I'm just going to keep I'm going to keep spamming. So 2 deep hops, 1 bound. So 2 deep hops, 1 deep bound.
So left, right.
That is going to be my jam for everyone for the next. If you listen to this podcast, 2024, that is the #1 exercise to do.
And it's going to develop into a med ball hugged one as well.
The med ball one. Yeah, the med one, most people will probably just get the med ball anyway, just to lock in the upper body. But yeah, if you're not doing that stuff or you're not working towards that stuff, you probably move like shit.
This is maybe where my education of deep tier stuff needs to go a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe that would feed a few more people to have a little bit.
People just aren't strong, and they really struggle with those movements. Like they can't flex their knee under, as we've seen. People we've kind of some athletes I coach, some of the things we've spoken about.
That's why I created the yielding series on our app. Like I put that put this new yielding series where it's an 8-week development to gradually expose you to deeper positions at higher velocities and faster drops for then you to learn how to control through that cycle of gait. So it's, maybe that's an area then to develop.
It's funny because it's all linked together, as we know. Like everything affects everything. Like you see an athlete like, oh, I press out all my jerks. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, you move like a fridge in everything you do. So if you can, you can do this one shoulder drill, but how about you just do some more like just dynamic movements in general, and you'll probably
like you were saying about the guy that can clean and jerk like 180. And you're like, great, you can clean and jerk 180, but we could give you the most basic dynamic stuff that just opens up that kind of
and that'll do you for a long time, and that'll be fine.
You've got a lot to learn there. Yeah.
So we've got 2024 dynamic movement. Hopefully that's the show.
We'll see.
And then what's here to stay? I think kickstand hinge is here to stay unless David changes it. Unless David says so, it's staying.
Yeah. It's got that stronghold.
He's got it all. He's got it on us. God damn it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's and we just want to see people slump bound.
Slump bounds. Yeah. I'm not doing the slump. I'm calling it a deep bound. So if that way there, we've kind of got a little tag on it. So if people are saying slump, they know it's from you. If it's a deep bound, they know they've heard it from me.
Yeah.
Because I'm banning the slump. No slumps.
No slumps. You don't like that. You don't like the complete relax around the spine.
They just flex their spine. They're like, no knee flexion. Oh. But when I give them that, they're like, oh yeah, cool. Is that the exercise? I just fucking shift my tibia forward
and just tank my fucking thoracic.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right, man.
Wild.
It was good to speak. You got a little editing to do, but we're
thanks so much, guys, for listening. As always, Matt, it's been a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure, my dude. Go to plusbars.com and sign up to my new app. Cheers. Thanks. Bye.